What's up, amazing people? Welcome to Culture Dynamics. Now, here we speak about traditions, African beliefs, and practices that we might or might not be still practicing. In case you're joining us today, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Let me introduce our guest for today, who's going to be the expert. But we're also going to be telling you what we are doing today. Please introduce yourself.
Good day. Ambassador Prince Michael, Mount Kenya Ambassador to the Diaspora, and author of The Great Investigation book, which is you can get on thegreatinvestigation.com, everything spelled correctly. And yeah, great to be here. Glad to be here.
The usual suspects.
Yes, Ambassador Butita.
Wewe kwani unabadilishanga zako daily?
Ambassador Eddie Butita. Goodwill Ambassador of Good Life.
Okay. All right, and they call me super host Miss Kithinji. Now today we are talking about the secrets of Africa. You had it right. There are things you might have never known. You probably even your great grandparents might have never known. But today we have Ambassador Prince Michael to elaborate all that. And we are referencing from your book.
Hey.
The Greatest Investigation.
Great Investigation.
How did you decide to write about the African secrets, the secrets of Africa? What led you to doing that?
Okay, well, my life journey, actually, about 12 years ago, around 2013, whenever that was. Me as a Black man in America, I decided to just kind of investigate my roots and culture because, Black people in America, we went through slavery, 400 years of some of the most brutal treatment that human beings have suffered for the longest. And we were disconnected from our cultures. We were disconnected from our traditions, our tribes, our names, our heritage. We know nothing, right? So, long story short, some events in my life, some spiritual things that took place led me to looking into some information. And I said a prayer that, I knew that I was going to have to look into what people call occult information or hidden information, esoteric information, because I had a question that I wanted answered. I felt that at some point in time, everything was good on earth. And then someone came along and ruined everything. That's how I felt in my soul. And I wanted to know, I said, I know the people at that time didn't just let this person do this. There must have been a resistance. So I wanted to name my company behind the people who were resisting that evil. So I wanted to research and say, who were the people that was resisting evil back in the day? So I said a prayer and asked God to guide my steps to the true information, because I know there's a lot of disinformation that, the U.S. government and different governments, they put out misinformation on purpose. You have to understand this, to distract you and lead you in other places. And for a reason. But I didn't want to find any of that. I wanted to find the true information. So 30 minutes after I said that, I found the secrets. The first secrets of Africa that I was exposed to came from the Botswana tribe. Out of the 5,000 tribes in Africa, there's only 3 or 4, maybe 3, that have actually started declassifying some of their secret information.
3.
Just 3. Imagine 5,000 over 5,000 tribes on the continent. Only a few have decided that, or I guess maybe they were instructed by the Spirit to start putting out and revealing some of this information.
Classify.
Yeah.
And does it mean it disappears along the way? Because when I look at a tribe, for example, our tribe, it means there's something we used to do. So where does it disappear to a point that you have now to declassify and understand it?
So the decision, from what I understand about the decision of why it's time to start declassifying, I would have to get that from the Kikuyu. I learned from the Kikuyu. And the Kikuyu are very special people on earth, not just in Kenya. I'm talking about globally. But the did you know the Kikuyu are the owners of the Bible?
Oh, really?
Of the Bible.
Correct. First of all, the original scrolls of Moses are in the Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark of the Covenant is in Mount Kenya.
No.
Wait,
the same Ark of the Covenant that is in the Bible.
Correct.
It is in Mount Kenya.
It's in Mount Kenya, the real one. there's replicas that are in different places, like in Ethiopia,
Ethiopia.
things like that. You see, when during the Crusades, what they call the Holy Wars, I call them the unholy wars. But when the white people were invading Ethiopia back in the day, around 800 years ago, so they were coming to steal the tablets. And obviously the prophets that guard the tablets, it's their job to know when these things are taking place. So the decision was made to remove the tablets from the temple there in Aksum, take it to the holy mountain. Remember, at that time, there's no Ethiopia and Kenya. There's no borders.
This is land.
This is all Ethiopia. Is all land. Merita. So the highlands. Of course, you guys know Mount Kenya is the second highest mountain in Africa. Yeah. And so it's always been considered holy land. If you go back to the ancient Egyptians, this area was called Taneteru. The land of the gods. Why? Okay, we're dealing with the Nile Valley civilization, the people that get their livelihood from the Nile River, right? So what do? They're grateful for this Nile River. They follow the Nile River to the source and the origin, right? And it leads them to this equator area where you have what they call Lake Nyasa or Lake Victoria, right? But then, yes, the Nile River comes from Lake Victoria, but where does the water in Lake Victoria come from? You see, that's where you see all the mountains here in the equator. You have some of the highest mountains in Africa are right here in the equator. They have glaciers. There's over 100 glaciers on the mountains, on the hottest area on Earth. So what's happening? The glaciers are melting, and the water is going to fill this largest lake, and from there goes the Nile River. So now the ancient people, the ancient Egyptians, they knew that these mountains were the source of the Nile River, not just necessarily Lake Victoria. Okay. You understand? So they paid homage and they knew how to trace the water. You understand?
Okay.
To the mountains.
Yeah.
So the 3 peaks of Mount Kenya were representative of, Osiris, Isis, and Heru. So Mount Kenya was the mountain that was dedicated to Heru, Osiris, and Isis.
Hey. So how did you get to the Kikuyu culture? Because I know you know a lot about the Kikuyu culture. How did you get that, and how did you even get a name? Because you were given a name.
Correct. Okay, so like I said, the first secrets I found was from the Botswana.
Okay.
And it was this mind-blowing information. It was very simple, down to earth.
Yeah.
That everybody can understand. And I said, wow, some of the most powerful, even to this day, some of the most powerful information knowledge I've ever read and come across and experienced in life is still that knowledge. And then even we've seen things come and confirm that knowledge as time went by. But anyway, right there in the first, some of the first information that they gave about, how they acquired this knowledge. So what you realize is every tribe, especially some of the older tribes, they all have custodians of secret knowledge. People in the tribe that's specifically there to do nothing else but protect
the secrets.
And they pass it over to another custodian.
That's it. So,
that's why.
So in the Botswana, you have the griots. The griots are selected from the age of 7. 2 different type of griots. 1, the Moseki griot, and 2, the Moshidi griot. The Moseki griot is what they call like a memorizing griot. That from the age of 7, the griots are they're separated from the rest of the children, and they more so spend their time with the elders, going through certain rituals and
the
exercises.
griots are like Morans, or how would you call the griots?
What's a Moran?
Okay.
It's an age set.
It's an age set.
An age set.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the Maasai culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the griot is the one, let me just say the Moseki griot is the child from 7 years old. They're going through rituals that give them to like sharpen their memory. They're the ones, then by the time they're older, they're the ones that's, their memories are better than the average person because since the age of 7, they've gone through exercises to sharpen their memory. Those are the ones who are given the oral history.
Okay.
Because you see, this is the thing we have to get clear. When modern Western people, especially, European people, they look at African culture and especially historians and people who've gone to school and they have their suit and ties and their degrees and hey, I'm a scholar in this. And they look down on African culture because it's, oh, that's all oral history. And if you line up 10 people, you tell the first person one thing, by the time it gets to it's completely different by the time it gets to the last person. That's always their argument, right? First of all, they're not talking about the memory training that these children go through for their whole entire life. So that way, when they're adult, they're taught the oral history word, so that way they can remember it word for word, so they can pass it on to the next Moseki griot word for word. That's one side. Okay.
Then the Mushiri.
And this Botswana secrets, like, what secrets are you talking about that was so important to be hidden?
Can I finish on the griot? Because
Yes.
I only told you about one.
Musheki, then Mushiri.
The Moshiri
Oh.
is the next one now. That's the one that now I want people to understand. Africa has more than just oral history. So let's not look at our ancestors and bring shame to our ancestors by saying, oh, they only had oral history. They didn't have books. They didn't have this. They didn't have, no. The Moshiri griot represents the actual science and the true power of Africa and Black people. The Moshiri griot, they said the word Moshiri is hard to translate to English, but they say essentially one who lives with the ancestors. So the Moshiri griot are trained in the rituals of, the gatekeepers of the spirit. They're the ones who go through the ritual where they go to sleep for 3 days, and they're taught the names of the guardians and gatekeepers on the other side, the spiritual realms now, so that way they can investigate the past through the eyes of the ancestors. The tenet of African culture is really that the lives of our ancestors are just as vibrant as they were today, or just as vibrant today as they were in their time, that the spirit never dies. The energy is still there. So if there's a mechanism or a way for us to access that energy, that vibration, we can then now integrate with it and view history from the eyes of that time as it took place.
Okay.
So in those 3 days, you can live for thousands of years just observing, because you're assigned the eyes of an ancestor from that time. So you can observe history from the beginning going forward and not try to learn it from the end, trying to work your way back. Because there's certain things you can't account for going from, it's like watching a butterfly. If you looked at a butterfly and see, how did this butterfly get here? You would never imagine that at the beginning, that butterfly didn't have wings.
Yeah.
You see? So you have to just understand that from the beginning, we're looking for a caterpillar. Then that caterpillar goes through into a cocoon and to a stage of metamorphosis where it just evolves with these wings now. And that's the flaw of modern history and modern archaeology. They don't understand the true natural way to investigate the past. Whereas in Africa, it's not our culture to go dig up our ancestors' graves and try to learn, like, oh, what was this guy doing? What was he eating? Poke his stomach open with a knife and try and take out whatever's in his stomach. Oh, he was eating this. No, that's barbaric. So that shows a lack of wisdom.
So you connect spiritually and you're able to view
what the ancestors, okay.
And that answers the question of how did I get to Mount Kenya?
Okay.
So I understood the Botswana secrets for a couple years. And then in 2015, I was revealed to the Kikuyu secrets on Yamumbi.com. Mr. Samuel Kamila, thanks to him, he put out some of the secrets from the Kikuyu. And the 12 seers, the Mount Kenya College of Seers, they also had a ritual where they sleep for 3 days. And that's where I was like, oh, okay. So there's something about this 3-day. But the Kikuyu went into a little bit more detail and a little bit more depth, of their 3-day, they call it 3-day death, and resurrection. And that's how we start to understand where the Bible quotes some of the, or expresses some of these figures with rituals that were very sacred to the ancient priesthood. And one thing we have to understand about the African priesthood is that it was there to protect the secrets. So when they put out mythologies and creation stories and things like that, it's there as a coded communication, a coded narrative that you would only need someone who was a part of it to be able to decode it for you. It's not to be taken 100% literal. You understand? Because this is powerful wisdom that's in there, and in the wrong hands, it can be very dangerous. So when they understood that, that's just our job as Black people, as the first original people of Earth, that we were given the knowledge of this universe. And we knew that a time would come where it would have to be protected, because new people would come to this earth that would seek to exploit these things for the negative.
So now, by new people, you mean the colonialists?
Aha, the non-Black people.
So now, the reason why it's being exploited, is it because it carries some sense of power that can help us move very fast to a different level?
Yes,
like,
sir.
what was the essence of
Protecting
distorting
this. Oh, yeah.
important information?
What was the essence of
Of distorting the information?
distorting the information?
Because now, you said Mount Kenya, the story of being a holy land, being that powerful, then someone in the middle came and our history got lost.
Mhm.
Why do you think they wanted that thing to disappear?
Well, it's just like how the magnetic poles of the earth reverse from time to time. In the Bible, it says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. In Kikuyu, you have something called ituika. It's a changing of the guards. It's a changing of leadership, right? In the beginning, the earth was led by Black people. In fact, that's the whole history of the earth. The earth knows nothing more than being led and governed by Black people. But because of the laws of the universe and the way things work, a time would have to come where Black people would have to take the back seat, and the non-Black people would have to lead. You understand? So that way, their purpose and their nature can dominate. So, everyone has their time. Yeah, everyone has to have their time.
So let me take you back a bit, because I'm interested bit by bit. So the Ark of the Covenant, the original one, is in Mount Kenya.
The original is in Mount Kenya.
Is it at a place where it can be accessed?
No.
No one knows.
People know, the guardians of it know, yes. But it's not in the physical realm. It's in the fourth dimension. You understand? There's certain things that even the Dogon tribe speak of this. When you understand that there's certain things that our ancestors, not even our ancestors, but the sages, the people with the wisdom, they know how to remove certain things from the physical plane without having to push it or go hide it or something like that. There's ways you can alter the density of physical matter. And even modern science is starting to come around and understanding this stuff now, once they get into quantum science and things like that. But I can show you a depiction. In fact, I think I'm the first one to show the depiction of quantum mechanics in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. If you look at Google the the creation at sunrise or something like that. So the papyrus. I'll share it with you guys. You can put it in the video. But I'll show you the picture. You'll see basically two quarks in a flux tube. But in the context that it's two suns. But you even have the gluon field and the other quark that sits on top of it. And when you see the depictions of quarks and the state of the most advanced state of modern science, it's showing you the same thing, the same depiction that's written right there in the papyrus 3,500 years ago.
So now okay, in simple terms, the physical Ark of the Covenant is not there. It's now in another dimension, in another realm.
Yeah, it's there, but it has to be excavated by the people who know how to bring it back into the physical plane. Yes. Yeah.
So as it is, it exists there, but no one has had to hold it.
Yes, you can't go physically go grab it.
Then does that explain? Okay, that area being a holy land, according to how you explain it. What are the evidences that shows us that?
Okay.
Maybe let's say, as you put it,
so
the Kikuyu land is blessed.
Yes.
And Kikuyus are somehow different.
Yes.
In the whole world.
Good
you question. Actually, the last time you came here, you mentioned that the Kikuyus are the smartest people, like the wisest people. I
was getting ready to give you some of that evidence.
Okay.
Yes. So let's look at the evidence. So first, what makes Mount Kenya the Holy Land? So we have to first go back before it was called Mount Kenya, back to the ancient Egyptian time when it was just the land of the gods, Tanet Teru or Time Tore. This land, because it was dedicated to the gods, no wars were allowed to be fought here. You understand? So this was a land of peace. And that's how you get the mountain of peace. And peace in Kikuyu is what? Thio. Thio. That's where you get Zion.
Oh.
You get what I'm saying? Because as you know, there's no Z in Kikuyu, and there's no S sound. So when you look on ancient maps like 1600s, 1700s, you see the river Tana used to be called Zion or Sion. But then on a few maps, you only see Sio, S-I-O. You know, Zion, the etymology of Zion is Sion, S-I-O-N. But on certain maps, you only see S-I-O. So it's like, why on some maps it says S-I-O-N, Sion, but on a few maps it only says Sio? It's because the three maps where it says Sio, they actually had the word right. They were the closest. Thio is peace. This is the mountain of peace. In the Nazarite scroll, which I included in my comparative analysis in my book, Mount Zion is not found in that, but the holy mountain is called the mountain of peace. You understand? And it, like I said, it just relates to the time. It inherited that from the ancient Egyptian times where this was the land consecrated for the gods. You are not allowed to bring fuss and fighting and those things to this area. This is the region where you come for your highest and most divine rituals and to reach the highest elevation, the highest version of yourself. This is where they would come and do the 3-day death ritual at Mount Kenya. Before the ancient Egyptian king ascended the throne, he had to come to Mount Kenya, do the 3-day resurrection, 3-day death, where they would get the powers and the knowledge and the wisdom from the other side. And on the 3rd day, they would
rise again.
So it comes to Mount Kenya, then for 3 days?
3 days. First, so there's 3 herbs, the tree of death, the tree of wisdom, the tree of life. The first day they give you the tree of death, it puts you into a coma, right? And so now you're sleeping. The second, the tree of wisdom, it relocates the brain activity from
the physical to the other realm.
Well, there was an area in our brain in modern day people that is dormant. We're not using the full anatomy the way that our ancient ancestors used to. As you even see in the Bible where they talk about people living hundreds of years and stuff like that. These things come from real concepts and real parts of history where our ancient, the original people lived for thousands of years. They were black people, all black people. And so now that our bodies have deteriorated, so that way non-black people can now come from us and we can experience them. We are now operating at a very low percentage of our full potential. So what does that mean? There's certain things in our bodies that can be awakened, that can be activated. And the Kikuyu are some of the custodians of a ritual, of a mind activation ritual, whereas you're induced into a coma for 3 days. And on the 3rd day, you're given the tree of life, which brings you out of the coma. And then you wake up very sick over the next couple of weeks. They have to nurse you back into good health. But you come back with very deep and powerful knowledge of how to do very powerful things. And this is where they got the Black Panther movie from. When you saw him get that purple juice. Yes. And when I say that, I mean that I'm actually the person in America who actually got the copyright for all of Marvel's Black Panther, Vibranium, Wakanda, all of that stuff. I got that repatriated to Mount Kenya. So right now, if you look up the copyright for the Anjiru clan secrets,
what they used in Black Panther?
It came directly from Mount Kenya. Directly.
Okay.
So they say it's an inspiration, but it's not an inspiration.
It is a 100%.
So the patent was repatriated. Who owns the patent?
Mount Kenya College of Seers.
On the patent.
Yes.
So now when Marvel has to produce something, they have to pay?
Technically, they're supposed to. But because this is such a powerful topic, the media has not yet put this information out. So it would be good if our younger generation in Kenya could possibly make this an issue here, because I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to say straightforward because I have firsthand knowledge of this. I think the former minister of culture or whoever it was must have been paid off by Disney. This is allegedly. This is just allegedly. But why? Because we did all of the evidence to show that laws were broken in this country. As of 2016, if you take the indigenous story from a tribe in Kenya and you're going to exploit it and turn it into a movie or whatever you want to do with it, you're supposed to sit down with the leaders of that tribe, with that community, and you're supposed to come up with some type of agreement that benefits the community. And if you don't do that, you're now breaking the law. You understand? So we did all of the evidence. We had the copyright given from the U.S. Copyright Office. We had everything there and put it on the table. Now, it's no question if this belongs to the Kikuyu community. And I put it there, and the Attorney General said, okay, I see it, but we can't accept it from you, an individual. This has to be sent over to us from the Minister of Culture. And so we go to the Minister of Culture, and, you know, they stall us and say, oh, we're not interested. And so I said, all I need is for you to email this over to the Attorney General. Oh, sorry, my boss said he's not interested. He's just not interested in that. Why are you not interested in? I did all the work already. This is important for the people.
Oh, so the vibranium story.
It comes from Ryuki. Mount Kenya is different.
But vibranium is fiction.
Vibranium is the fictional. It's what they, but it comes from a real meteorite. You see, Mount Kenya was formed by a meteorite. That's the difference between Mount Kenya and other mountains. A meteorite really impacted Earth.
I thought it's volcanic.
Yes, well, where did the volcanoes come from? Imagine a big meteorite crashing into Earth and raising up the area all around it, raising up the land, because the impact is so hard. Now you're creating forced volcanoes. You understand?
Actually, the Black Panther intro says that.
You understand?
Made of vibranium. Struck the continent of the Earth.
Yes. And there's a few things that.
So the real Wakanda might be Mount Kenya.
It's Wakiada.
The
people of the slopes.
Kiada.
Yes.
Wakiada.
Wow.
The people of the slopes. The people who live on the slopes of the holy mountain.
Yeah. Wow.
But you know the N, you don't really pronounce the N when you're
don't.
pronouncing it. But it's there written. So if they're reading this thing in America, these white guys, Wakanda.
So they'll be like
Okay,
Wakanda.
just say Wakanda. It's better.
But how did they get access to that information?
The U.S. military, Operation Paperclip. So Hitler was unlike us, who we're not, our generation, we're not interested in our culture. We don't care what our great-great-grandparents were doing. The people who run the world, the most powerful people in the world, that's all they care about. Hitler was one of those people who, and you see the German technology where it is right now. You see that they're very good with their engineering. Why? Because they looked into the real source, the real experts of engineering. He was very interested in the ancient secrets and occult esoteric information. They sent delegations to Peru, to Bolivia, to Tibet, to Abyssinia to find this type of knowledge. But he did have his own agenda, which was kind of stupid. They wanted to prove that the Aryan race was the supreme race of humanity and things like that. And they had this stupid theory called the world ice theory. Google the world ice theory. They wanted to say that a large body of ice collided with the moon and pieces of that crashed into Earth. So they were looking for evidences to prove their theory. That's where the Kikuyu secrets now became of interest to the Nazis at that time. They had a section called the Anenerbe. The Anenerbe was just dedicated to finding this ancient knowledge. So this type of information, now the Kikuyu have a story about a meteorite crashing into Earth. They say, oh, we need that one. See, I told you, go. So now when the Nazis lose the war, the US government hired a bunch of their scientists, their mind scientists. They tell you about the rocket engineers and the rocket scientists, but they also hired a lot of mind scientists from the Nazis and brought them over. It's interesting that the Nazis even had mind scientists. That's where MK Ultra comes from, and the modern day advertising industry that we have, where they repeat messages to you to try and program your mind. Just a side note. But anyway, you're asking how did that information get over there? Jack Kirby, the creator of Black Panther, and Stan Lee, the other creator of Black Panther, they were serving in the military. They were drafted into the military. specifically in the film training department, and Jack Kirby was the one that was drawing the cartoons, because they were comic book artists before they went into the military. But when the war comes, they just had to go and fight because that's the law. So they got drafted. They had to go fight for a couple years. And then, but while they're in there, they're still using their talents for the military. So now when these classified documents come over with the Nazis and they're reading these things about black people in Kenya, these Kikuyu people who can walk through walls and fly and move objects with their mind and all these powerful things, where they're talking about the prophets, not everybody, but the prophets who guard the Ark of the Covenant and these things that go through the mind activation ritual. First of all, how can anyone talk about these things other than in a comic book now? Because especially back in the 40s and 50s, racism is still on an all-time high. Colonialism is still, the world is still colonized. We can't paint black people in this type of light, right? But Jack Kirby and them did in the 60s, after the decolonization started taking place. That's when, this comic book came out. And it showed.
So that's how they got a chance to get the story.
That's how they
and,
got
and this Wakanda, the Wakanda story. And now there is the vibranium story of Wakanda being so powerful and being able to. They have look, going by the Black Panther story. The idea was that this vibranium was highly guarded because it is a source of many things. And I remember there's a part even where they said if only they would let the world access the vibranium, then the world would have been as great as nothing that you can imagine. I mean, very good. So now my interest is now that the Wakanda are powerful and they have the so-called vibranium, let's call it a fiction of the power. For this case, let's call it the power. Why is it that we don't see that
in real life?
Because I would expect that area to be the normal cliche that we say, to be like Singapore, to be like extraordinary potentials, but
because as modern day people, we only look at things through a Western perspective. That's just how we're trained to. That's the only way we know to look at life. We see value as how tall are your buildings, how big is your bank account, how many cars do you have, how good are your roads, That's the way we see success. This community here is thriving, is rich, is wealthy. That's the only way we're trained to see.
But what else?
But what else is there? Before wealth, before commerce. That's what I'm saying. We're culture. What was our ancient original ancestors doing in their culture? What was their culture? Did their culture value gold and silver and dollars and things like that? Or did they value knowledge, power, wisdom? You have to understand. There's a lot to unpack here, right? First of all, I think it's going to be difficult to talk about everything in one setting, but let's just talk about some basics, right?
Yeah.
In the Nazarite Scroll, it paints a very powerful narrative about the creation of the world. In the Bible, in contrast to the Bible, it says that God, as a spirit, just created the earth, and then created man and woman. But in the Nazarite Scroll, just like in the Botswana Secrets, it's a little bit different. It says that the spirit or the mind of God became man. It emanated itself into man and woman, then created the universe together as man and woman with masculine and feminine energy equally being exerted.
Wait.
You understand?
Let's go slowly. For the purpose of
layman's language.
Yes.
So the other one says God created man and woman, an act of creation, molding or whatever. This other one says it was a spirit
that became a man and woman. It transformed itself into man and woman.
So which means, according to this one, God did not exist or does not exist as a person. It's a spirit.
In the one that we're all taught.
And that spirit came now, it existed as a man now.
Yes.
So we are the first physical
Creation.
Yes. Self-manifested, self-generated, self-created. You understand?
Is that a spiritual analogy or a scientific analogy?
It depends on which level of science you're looking at and which spirituality you're looking at. The power of consciousness has been documented scientifically, right? The mind is very, very powerful, and the average person in society does not investigate the power of their mind. They don't. The power of their mind.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions, but just trying to understand, which is necessary also, the power of the mind. So, according to your research, can you, give me a good extraordinary example thing that a mind can do, based on how you understand
The power of the mind.
Things that we can't imagine that the mind can do.
Okay. We can go and even look at the guys in China who were taught by our people, black people, and India. You see them using their chi, where they're not touching. For instance, they can have a brick right there or way over there, and they exert this energy and make the brick fall. You understand?
Yes.
They're using.
That's real, though. It's not just on videos.
Oh, it's real. It's real. It's definitely real. So we've seen so many, even on social media, we see these type of videos sometimes, and we're wondering, is this real, or is it?
It's no magic.
Or is it, is it just some type of trick, But these things are real at the end of the day.
Energy that you can convert even to move things.
Yes, to move things. Yes.
And does that apply in attracting things on Earth?
Absolutely. Look how powerful the mind is. You could be thinking of somebody and then they call you. I was just thinking about you.
That means there is a connection between you two.
There's a connection there.
And is that something that you can be trained to do?
Yes, there's something that you can be trained to do, and even deeper levels of that. You can have meetings. There's people. You can have meetings together
without
physically going places.
And we are having a conversation.
There's people who train their minds, like there's groups, organizations of people who do nothing but try to train their minds on how to do these things, and they're doing it together as a group. And some of these people, you've heard of some of them, they're called Freemasons. They're called Scottish Rites. They're called these powerful people who run and govern everybody else, the richest people on earth, because they
know the secrets.
Yeah, they're not waking up in the morning thinking of how they're going to make money to pay their bills. These people have all the money. They print the money. So what are the people that print the money doing with their time every day? They're trying to sharpen their mind.
The mind, yeah.
You understand? They're trying to access the powers that they know. Because why they're a part of those organizations, their families are part of those bloodlines who were given this knowledge back in the day. Because you got to understand, when these white people, they were banished at one point, they were very troublesome when we first encountered them, and we banished them actually to behind the Caucasus Mountains, and we did not allow them to come out for 2,000 years.
Okay.
They lost their humanity completely, almost completely. And so now a special person among our community was born about 4,000 years ago, where his name was Mosa, what people call Moses. In the Botswana, Mosa means mercy. He's the one that had to go and find some of these white people in that area, and he brought them into Egypt so they could get some knowledge.
Was Mosa black?
Of course.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
of course, the real one.
So now if you go to that analogy of the mind, it means now the African mind is more powerful.
Yeah.
Because we come from the land of the blessed.
Because we're the original mind.
We are the
original mind. What does original mean? Original means it has all its faculties in it. It's the most least deteriorated mind on the planet. You see, things start off good and then they deteriorate. You understand? When you drive a new car off of the lot, as soon as you drive it off the lot, the value starts to go down.
Yes.
You understand? So the first man and woman on this planet was the perfect man and perfect woman.
Which it said it's Adam and Eve.
They're saying it's Adam and Eve.
Are they black?
Well, of course. Now we know Adam and Eve is just a symbolic representation of the black nation, the global black nation. Yes, they just represent the black people that was there in the beginning. But as time goes by, and when the wisdom, you have to see, it's like apples and oranges. We can't compare the wisdom that we have with the wisdom of our ancient ancestors. It's just not. There's no comparison. These people were highly spiritual. They knew who they were. The God inside of them, they knew that God. They spoke to that God very clearly. They heard from that God. There was no disruption in the communication. The very first people, they knew who they were. They were creators. So with that being said, they had rituals and a spiritual system that was complete, that taught them all of the knowledge in the universe, because God knows all the knowledge in the universe.
Yes.
If you have God in you,
would
that
know.
means all the knowledge in the universe is
in you. So where is the Garden of Eden again?
It's right here in Mount Kenya. It's this region right here.
Garden of Eden is in Mount Kenya.
Is Kenya. Is Kenya. Just this whole region. So that's another thing in the Nazarite scroll. It tells you that the holy mountain of peace was located in the center of Kush. And Mount Kenya is located on the equator. You understand? And in the Nazarite scroll, it says that the holy mountain of peace was located in the center of the garden. And the garden was located in the center of Kush. You understand?
Oh,
So I'm telling you by the evidence of what I've read. I'm not telling you anything that I came up.
now let's go back to having the power, having God inside you, and accessing the knowledge. Then you look at the world, how the world is connected. You realize that certain discoveries were made to enable the world to function the way it is. For example, the discovery of aeroplanes. Then you come to the just recent things like social media networks, or the discovery of computers. I'm trying to find out, if we are this powerful, why is it that these global landscaping ideas do not
come from
originate
black
us?
people?
Because you see, the idea of aeroplanes, the idea of social media networks, computer, they don't originate from here. I can't point something specific that serves the world that has originated from here. And if it's there, it's still depending on a technology that did not originate from here.
What I would say,
Because you'll argue the M-Pesa, I'll tell you it depends on a phone, which you are not the original inventors. Yeah.
Maybe you can look at it from this line. When it comes to the availability of resources, Africa is rich with a lot of resources. So I want to believe, like, wherever resources are deposited, that is where the knowledge is deposited, according to whatever we are talking about. In this perspective, like, according to him, Akisema, like, the whole thing of wisdom, the whole thing of Africa being the cradle of mankind. We see, like, the westernized countries, they are into fighting for Africa entities because of the resources, gold, titanium, whatever. So because these resources are deposited in Africa, I want to lie us with this thinking that
we also have the knowledge.
The knowledge.
Yeah.
It is
But
just
how
that-
come we are not using it?
You're not executing it.
Yeah.
that now that is where we are deliberating on.
Because I'm also trying to see the point of civilization, which has its advantages and disadvantages. But you can agree somehow the advantages of civilization and the reason why maybe we are at a place that we are.
So I want to say a couple of things. First of all, you would be surprised about where a lot of the technology actually comes from. You would be very, very surprised to know that black people are actually the originators of these things that we don't understand. It was black people that did it.
Yes,
White people are one thing that they've always done was steal. I'm going to be just very straightforward. One thing that they're very good at is stealing. One thing that they're very good at is manipulating and lying. And, they have demonstrated this. If we're just talking about history, if we're looking at history, you see, okay, they have been master manipulators, they've been master thieves, and they will confuse you. And so a lot of these inventions actually were created by black people, especially when you go to America. if we remove all of the contributions of the black intellect,
Yeah.
you know, to the modern day industries, there would be no modern day industry. I promise you that
Okay.
one. There's too many inventions for me to list so many, you know. Just go and
That
look.
black people played that key
Yeah,
role.
just Google it.
Even the television, I saw that that's a black woman
So
that
many.
actually done, yeah.
So many. Just Google inventions that were created by black or stolen inventions from black, inventions stolen from black people. You will be surprised. Bro.
Things like Louis Vuitton, I saw the print came from Africa.
So many.
Yeah.
And even technology, I'm talking about specific technology like these
So
phones.
for them, they are good at taking this idea,
Improvising?
branding it, and commercializing
There
it.
you
Yeah.
So we have great ideas that die. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have the resources there within their community because they stole all the resources for many generations. And now their families, whenever they have an idea, they're very quick to implement it. Why? Because they have the resources and the power and the access to be able to bring this to market. So, and I want to put some more evidence because you said, what's the evidence of Mount Kenya being a holy land? And I don't mean to mix topics, but I didn't get to put everything because there's so much. There's a few things I need to make sure we highlight. The archaeological evidence, we'll say the scriptural evidence coming from the Nazarite scroll, confirms the teaching from Mount Kenya that was revealed on Yamumbi.com, that there is an energy, a cosmic energy for life and wisdom that originates from outer space and connects to Earth, and then disseminates itself to all the living beings. So just the concept of life and wisdom. So if you're alive, you have life in you. If you have wisdom, that's your intelligence right there. So that energy connects at Earth at the peaks of Mount Kenya and disseminates itself to the world from there. Now in the scroll, they call it the river of light that comes from space and connects at the peak of the mountain of peace and disseminates itself to the living beings. You know, once the tree of life is planted at the top of the holy mountain. Now, what evidence do we have? There's scientific evidence that is pretty interesting. In 1978, I think Lieberman and Associates, it was published in Dr. Amos Wilson's book, Awakening the Natural Genius of Black Children, where he published about the study where they tested the IQ of babies between the ages up to 15 months. They monitored, and they did the black people babies in America, the white people babies.
Kikuyus like you.
They did all the babies around the world, Asians, Hispanics, Europeans,
I had that.
black people in Africa, black people in the diaspora, you know, and who beat everybody in the world was the people on Mount Kenya. The people on Mount Kenya, where the elders say the cosmic energy itself, the purest form of energy for wisdom, originates on this planet right there on that mountain. Yet you have babies who beat everybody else in the terms of brain development the first 15 months of their life. So I don't know. That kind of seems like a connection to me. Not only that, but we have a culture of a mind activation ritual. Now we're learning that the Kikuyu also have a mind activation ritual that a few of their people have to do. The seers, just specifically the seers, because here's the justification of that. As we know, you have, like they say, the separation of church and state. You have the king, and then you have, or the royalty, then you have the priesthood. The kings have one function, but the priests have a different function. You understand? So now the seers are with the priesthood. So when you talk about these seers who are going through this mind activation ritual, who are accessing these powers or learning this knowledge, how to access these powers from the ancestral realms for 3 days, it's like they're there for 3 days learning, but that's only 3 days for us. In that realm, they could be there 1,000 years. Learning so much wisdom, that's why when they come back, they know how to defy gravity. They know how to change the laws of nature. They know how to walk through the wall. They know how to do these things because they've been learning from the ancestors for 3 days, but maybe 1,000 years. You understand? So now when they come back, these seers have more abilities and capabilities than the average person. But guess what? Every king has a seer. Why? Because the seer needed to know how to walk through the wall just in case he had to warn the king that his life was in danger. The seer was supposed to be able to access that king even if there's a barrier in front of him. Nothing can stop the seer from getting to the king. You understand? But it's no different when you look at the president. The president has Secret Service. And you think these Secret Service are regular people? No. Go run up and try to test one of these Secret Service. They're trained to have more abilities than the average person in society. It's just a natural inheritance.
So does that explain that things like prophecies are somehow remote viewing, being able to tap into
You see?
And there are people who are
Because-
gifted and others are not.
if you can be able to prophesy, it means you are seeing a life that we've not lived already.
Well, prophecy, I don't know all of the nuances of why someone is able to prophesy. But we'll say that
Let's say someone is able to see
someone's able
whether
to see.
past or future.
It's just attached to their destiny. You see, everyone has a soul. Everyone has a purpose in this life. Nothing exists without a purpose.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we have to understand. And back in the day, we knew our purpose, and we even acquired names that was associated with our purpose. You see, we're doing things very different than we used to do. But some people, their purpose is here to help guide others. That's really the purpose of leadership, which in our culture is symbolized by the pyramid, because if you know, the pyramid is three sides. It has the widest base is at the bottom, but at the top it's like it culminates up to one point, the apex, where it's just one single point, and it symbolizes the leadership of what people are, of what true leaders in our original community, their purpose was to guide people to divine unity, to oneness, where people understood the oneness of everything, that we are one with everything. That's why back in the day we didn't have to speak to each other, because we were connected. We were in a state of mind and heart where all of our minds and hearts were connected all over the world. If you stub your toe, I'm in Kenya, and you're over there, and let's say you're in Japan area, you stub your toe, because we're in divine unity, I know that you just stubbed your toe. You don't have to say, hey, Prince, I just stubbed my toe, because what's understood doesn't have to be explained. That's why we didn't speak in the beginning. We communicated on a much deeper and more, solid level. We were in a state where our hearts and minds were in divine unity, and that was the purpose of people. That was the purpose of life, was to be guided into divine unity. The elders had to lead the babies and children all the way back up, because in the beginning, we came as completed men and women. God didn't incarnate itself or transform itself into a baby. Imagine the first person on earth being a baby, but there's nobody else there to take care of the baby. Which brings us to the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It was the chicken, because if the egg comes, who's gonna
Give up the egg.
lay on the egg, so that way it can even be hatched? You understand? Who's gonna hatch the egg? It has to be a perfect form first. When you think of something that you want, let's say you want a car, you don't say, oh, I want a car door or a tire. No, you think of the perfected. The mind thinks of things in its completed version first. That's the way that the mind works. So now when the human body is and humans are being created, you're thinking of the man in its perfect form. The most perfect form is not a baby, because a baby is weak. A baby can be, controlled and all this thing. Man, you can't. You see, man commands respect. You see, dignity, honor, pride, all of this stuff. So man and woman, when I say man, I mean man and woman. Not to say one is much, but because in the ancient teachings we say they're equal. There's no one higher or low. It just takes turns in leadership. But anyway, that was the most perfect form there of starting off perfect. You understand? So
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about the ancestors, because the lifespan right now is at what age?
they say what, 65, 70 years.
Yeah. But you mentioned something different that used to be in the past. What's that?
So thousands of years, like when the Bible speaks about in the early days, people living hundreds of years, is actually much longer than that. You understand? It took, the average lifespan of a person was 7,000 years. Why? There's a specific reason why. The initiation system.
7,000 years.
Yeah, the initiation system.
Same years as now that we count, or different count?
Different, same type of
365
count. Yeah, same type of count. You know.
56, yeah.
So the reason that we had to live so long was because the initiation system. They said there's 49,000 truths or rituals that we had to do, and of those 49,000 rituals, there's 7 great rituals that we had to perform. And those rituals could only be done once every 1,000 years, because the body cannot withstand the ecstasy of that. It's like you know, you have to, it's like when you get an epiphany and you're like, man, and then you got to sit there and let it soak in for a second. Or someone tells you something real powerful and they open your eyes, you're like, they blown your mind. Like you hear come across some information or some knowledge that it just blows your mind. And you can't just keep going and give me more, you say, hold on, wait. Let that soak in for a minute. You understand? These certain rituals led us to have power over the physical plane, over the universe. Like it said in the Bible, there's a commandment in the Bible, even if you, that's why some of these ancient knowledge, they find their way in the Bible, you know? Mm-hmm. There's a commandment in the Bible very early on that tells us to subdue the earth. They said man is supposed to have dominion over the earth. There's a command. It's actually a commandment that we are to subdue the earth. To subdue is a very specific term. It's to take control by force. To subdue somebody. When they say, well, go subdue the enemy, you're going to force them to do whatever you want them to do because you're going to subdue them. So there's a commandment in the Bible that says to subdue the earth, right? But it doesn't tell you how. How do we subdue the earth? You understand? This is the knowledge that we're missing, that our ancient original ancestors, they had that knowledge. They knew how to subdue the earth, and it was through these 7 great rituals, you know? So, you know, it gets very, very deep.
So that's what led them to like live for long?
Yes. There's certain rituals that we would do that would promote, that would prolong our life, that we, in the trees of life, the original plants, they remove these plants now. They're even them, they're in the 4th dimension. You're not able to access many of these. But we used to eat these, the original diet also caused us to live longer. Oh. You understand?
So this diet that we have is not the original?
It's not, no. Now we're eating meat, we're eating these things. In the original days, we didn't eat meat, you know? We didn't eat the meat. Yeah, no, we were very divine, very holy. We were gods. Let me just say it straight and forward. Like in the Bible, it says, ye are gods. It comes from somewhere. The Bible doesn't just say that just to say it, to sound good. It comes from very ancient wisdom. And we had a very godly diet. Things that we were doing, we just can't fathom what we're doing. So we had to, in order for evil to be given the pass, the green light to exist now, we had to stop doing certain rituals that made us live for so long, that caused us to be powerful. We had to lower ourselves way, way down in order to be enslaved, and we could experience these sufferings and things, because we never experienced those things before. We only knew about them in visions and rituals where we see, oh, okay, sometime in the future we're going to have to experience this. Why? Because that's just the laws of the rhythm and how it swings from one side to the other side, you know? So, yeah, of course, we did what we had to do so that way we could experience this world. Like I said, Satan was given authority in the Bible. Satan was given the permission to come and do these things for a certain amount of time. But he knew that a certain time would come where now that would have to be put away with, and now the divine kingdom would have to come back again. Peace would have to be on earth, and wisdom would have to flow again. You understand? So that's where we're at now. Even Muga Wakabiru in the Kikuyu community prophesied about a time where, you know, the generation of young people would start to now want to return back to their ways, to their ancient ways. You know, and that's where we are now. We're interested. That's why I love you guys' platform. I love that you guys create a space on your platform to even discuss these things. Because why? There's just naturally, this is the time where people are going to be interested. Hey, I want to know. We may not get things as perfect as our ancient ancestors got it, but at least we have trying.
Something.
We're trying.
Yeah.
At least we're trying. You know. So that's the slogan for this day and age. Hey, we're trying. You see somebody trying to do something, you say, you're just giving them the credit. Even if you know, hey, they could do that a little bit better. No, they're trying.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. We appreciate people trying.
There's something I want to understand here. You said there is the Nazareth scroll, right?
Yes.
And according to the Nazareth scroll, man was created first. Like man was God and man came first. Like
man and woman.
Yeah.
Man and woman.
Yeah, that's man and woman.
Yeah.
As a whole being.
Yeah, so the spirit God transcended what they say Jah and Jala in the scroll named Jah and Jala transformed themselves into Jade and Jana.
Okay.
So
now according to the Bible, man came last. after the earth was created, separation of the
heavens and the earth,
heavens and
uh-huh.
earth and stuff. So according to the Bible, man came last. But according to the Nazareth scroll, according to what you're saying, man came before every other thing.
Came before that. And then because the original plants and bodies, the original plants and animals, they come from the bodies of the gods. You understand? So the understanding of that is the mind. What is the spirit? The spirit is what they call the ether. They said all things in creation manifest in 7 stages: magnetism, electricity, light, ether, then gas, liquid, and solid. Our modern science only focuses on the last 3, you know. But our ancient science focused on all 7, and the central one was the ether. That was the most sacred substance in our culture back in the day. They said, what is the ether? Ether is the blackness when you look out in space. The space in between the stars and the planets, all that blackness, that's the ether. That is literally the mind of God. You see, and so the ether is made up of 144,000 different attributes. And each one of those attributes is associated with a plant and an animal. Now, when you put when all of those attributes combine themselves together, it forms the shape of the human body. 72,000 are more masculine. The other 72,000 are more feminine. You see, and that's where now, when it emanates itself into man and woman now, they're mostly the same, but you see there's different features that, the man has is different than the woman, but mostly with the same arm, leg, head, eyes and everything. But, the female has different attributes and the male has different attributes, but mostly we're the same. So that's where, so in the way the Botswana described it is the earth and the universe is never ending. The universe expands when the mind, at the end of the universe, the mind expands, and we expand so beyond the realms of beyond the boundaries of the universe, to the point where the whole universe is just, when we looking down, looks like the size of an earth. And so now we've grown because we've learned so much in the trillions and trillions of years that we're here. Now everybody in the universe goes back into divine unity, where we all become one, which we embrace the ultimate truth that we're all connected. We all become one. And when I say everybody in the universe, they're saying that this is not the only planet where God has created and manifested itself. There's other earths in the universe where God is also there, and we're connected to those people. So it goes very, very deep, because we want to say that we think that modern transportation, cars and ships and things, there's sky ships in the Nazarite scroll, where Lucifer had a sky ship in the Nazarite scroll. And he tried to bomb and attack Abraham and Sarah when they was going to plant the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, so that all the beings on earth could wake up. You see, and they didn't want Lucifer didn't want the tree of life to be planted in the Garden of Eden, so they attacked Abraham and Sarah, which in this version, they come before Adam and Eve. You understand? So it goes very deep. Our ancient ancestors, they were able to travel. If they were here in Africa and for some reason they needed to go to America, they knew how to get to America. They knew their way. They had their ways. And it didn't take a long time. In fact, it was very faster than getting on an airplane. Let me just show you. That's how powerful the mind is.
The mind can even move you.
The mind can do things, man.
Let's talk about another secret. You see, when I look at the dreadlocks have been associated with being a rebel, because it's also been associated with the Mau Mau, the Kikuyu culture.
Okay.
What's the secret behind wearing locks?
So, the opposite of what you said. Interestingly, we have to go we have to go way, way back to the ancient Egyptian culture. There was a goddess called what they call Sekhmet. Sekhmet was like a lioness, and she had locks. You see, and the way that it worked in those times in ancient Egypt, when you went through initiations, you chose a specific god, that you would serve and be a part of that department, basically. And the ones who would choose Sekhmet, they were required to grow their hair long. That's one example. Another example, the Nazarite, you know, the Nazarite, that's why they say Jesus had hair like lamb's wool. The Nazarite vow or the Nazarene vow in the Bible is to not shave, to not cut your hair, to let your hair grow. So in the Nazarite scroll, they describe Jesus or Yeshua as having locks. Why? Because this was known in the ancient time that the locks was a symbol of a priesthood. You understand? And even down to the Kikuyu, I'm pretty sure that those Mau Mau people, their inspiration was spiritual. It wasn't just, economic. Oh, we need our land back. Oh, they're trying to make us slaves. No, they know also the spiritually, this is what we're supposed to do. We're here to protect. We know who we are. Especially back in those times, they knew certain things that we're here. Our ancestors came here to protect something very precious in this mountain. This mountain was to be protected. We didn't just come here to live and grow maize and things, We came here to protect certain things. They know the original scrolls of Moses are there in Mount Kenya. The Ark of the Covenant is there in Mount Kenya. Y'all call it Ikujo. It's called Ikujo. That's why I said that the Kikuyu are the owners of the Bible. Why? Because they have the original scrolls of Moses there. And that's why the chief has given authorization for those scrolls now to be presented. So very soon you're going to hear about some very ancient scrolls coming from Kenya.
Those ones exist physically.
Those ones exist, and the people's going to see those. The people are going to see that one. So
where are they based now? In a museum or?
No. They're there in the Ark of the. They're there with the seers. They're there with the prophets. But soon it'll be made available. These things and these things are a part of prophecy of world peace and wisdom coming. You see, when people are wise, you'll notice that there's going to be, when people practice wisdom, you'll see that there's a lot less conflict. Because if we really use and apply our mind, we can normally figure out ways to make things work and work through our issues.
So why?
If the scrolls are there, it means the original languages.
That's all there.
Kikuyu.
I don't know if the original language are Kikuyu, because our people were known to change languages. Purpose. And I know that the Kabiru, when they were in Ethiopia, they were called Kabiru. When they came here to Mount Kenya, they wanted to change their identity. So that's where they called themselves Kikuyu now when they got to Mount Kenya. So maybe they could have changed the language as well. You never know. Sometimes people would be, they would, like a group or would do something shameful, and they would be banished from speaking a certain language. You see, I'm talking about in African culture. So sometimes languages are evolved. The original languages, there's 12. In fact, the Botswana speak about the original language. One of the original languages is Setswana. Setswana. I don't know what the other 11 are, but the original languages come from the unspoken language, which are you see some of them in the hieroglyphs, and they speak about it in the Nazarite scroll as well, where they talk about the thought forms. There's so much that if we would take some time, I think now is the time. Obviously, we can't cover everything here.
Yes. What's the name of the book?
The Great Investigation.
The Great Investigation.
Yeah, .com. If you go there, you'll not only see the book, and the book you can get for free. By the way, you can download the ebook for free. This one, we just want people to get the knowledge.
You're not selling the book?
Or you can buy if you want the physical book. Yeah, you can buy the book too.
Physical.
Yeah, but for now, you don't have to wait to get the physical. You can just go and get the information first. Understand, and all the sources is all for free. Everything is for free. Just go to the website, thegreatinvestigation.com, and just get the knowledge. And we start the conversation from there.
I love to look at it.
Yeah. So as we finish up, tell us about cutting trees as the last secret.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one I don't think is so much of a secret. It's more so just about the culture. of and it just shows how our people had an intimate relationship with nature. In Kikuyu culture, it was taboo to cut trees that the leaves were still green, because it showed that it still had life in the tree. So it's like you're killing the tree, you're killing something that has life, and it was forbidden to use that one, for firewood. So you can't cut the trees for firewood if it's still green and burn it. And that's simply it. But it just shows that the respect for nature. And even people thought about not just this generation, but even 7 generations in the future. So there would be no issue with deforestation where, oh, we're going to cut all these trees because we want to sell this and make paper and, make this and make that. And we have 10,000 acres here, so let's just go cut all 10,000 acres. No. We say, hey, these 2,000 acres, this is for us. Or this 1,000 acres, this is for us. These thousands, this is for the next generation. Those one is for the next generation. Our people had a very intimate relationship with nature, and that's just one thing culturally that you can see and say, yeah, these Black people in Africa, they had they were well thought out. They had a well structured life and society. And it's just now that we have to only look at our culture and traditions through the eyes of westernized people who are exposed to now technologies that I want to close about talking about technology. I just want to make one point about technology and I'm done. Because it's easy to ask ourselves and compare and say, man, these people have an airplane, this one has a car, this one has cell phone, this one satellites, this and that. But you have to understand the greatest computer that ever exists
is your mind.
Black people in Africa somehow had mastery of this. They didn't need these other things. If they wanted to go travel 10,000 miles and needed to be somewhere tomorrow that was 10,000 miles away, they knew how to get there. Tomorrow. You understand? We knew how to, if we're going to build pyramids, we didn't need big cranes to lift these boulders. How do we know we need these boulders to put? They didn't know they didn't need a crane to lift those pyramids and put those blocks and create the pyramids. Oh, we have to cut this stone. They didn't need a saw, they knew how to do these things. You understand? Because the mind is the most powerful thing. The only thing negative for our generation is we're living in a time where these secrets had to be hidden now. Some people still have this information. Now, the non-Black people, they're starting at a deficit where they don't have these things. They have even, a lot of times, not even knowledge that they can do something like powerful like these things with their minds. So they have to compensate. When you look at modern technology, what you're looking at is the compensation for the lack of wisdom. We have to compensate. And now we're all following them because we were enslaved and colonized by them. So what are we doing now? We're following them. We're trying to also compensate because it's not just them who don't have the wisdom. We also don't have the wisdom, even though we have the wisdom inside of it. But our culture is no longer to access that wisdom. That used to be African culture, is to restore the memory of the human being because it's already inside of you.
Yeah. What's the name of the part of the mind that is dormant?
I'm not sure. I will get that. But the good thing is the elders said that they're willing to work with modern scientists now to study this process so they can let us know all of these things. I wouldn't be the one
to activate that.
I wouldn't be the one now to dictate that. I'm not the expert there, but
That's
we are looking for
research you've done.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'll look at the book, the Great Investigation.
The Great Investigation.
Yeah,
all right. Thank you so much, Prince, for sharing your knowledge with us. Ambassador Prince Michael.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Guys, in case you want to catch more knowledge on this, make sure to check out the book, The Great Investigation, The Secrets of Africa.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. In case you have something to contribute towards this show, make sure to let us know down on the comment section so that we can have Prince come back and we can have even more secrets and know about them. Thank you so much for watching. My good name is Miss Kithinji. I was joined by...
I am the silent listener. Uminde.
And...
Eddie Butita.
All right.
Ambassador Prince Michael.
All right. Until
you.
next time. Goodbye.
Bye.